Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here today. I am really excited to bring Kelly Koller. Kelly is the enrichment specialist and a third and fourth grade teacher for the Howard Suamico School District. She is also a Nat Geo certified educator, and she's a Grosvenor teacher fellow, which means she's done some really cool traveling and has some experiences with scientists. And she is creator of Cell Outdoors. So without any further ado, I would like to welcome Kelly. And if you'd like to use a woohoo, woo, woo in the house, or if you want to use the reaction tools, either way is fine. But Kelly, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I am currently teaching online learners for third and fourth grade from Forest Glen Elementary, and then also doing being an enrichment specialist at Suamico Elementary on Fridays. So I'm doing both in person and online still. And I sometimes come outside, so I'm pretty confident with my Wi-Fi, but feel free to tell me if as I'm sharing it, like I'm glitchy. That's one of my my favorite comments that kids say, "You're lagging, Mrs. Koller, you're glitchy." So tell me if I'm glitchy, please. And I'll have another cup of coffee and also go closer to my router. But all right, so I am here to tell you guys about some new professional development opportunities from Nat Geo. I'm excited to share those. And one of those has to do with explorer mindset. And I've been kind of obsessed with, I shouldn't say I've been working with this idea. I've been kind of obsessed with it since pretty much 2016. When it started to be incorporated into the beta version, the early version of the Educator certification program with National Geographic Education. And I kind of loved that idea so much. I saw it as a way that could really internally motivate students and connect them with their learning as agents of their own learning. So I've been working on that ever since, and have a couple of grants from National Geographic that has supported that work, and one that I'll talk about too excitedly, the Explorer Mindset app, which should be coming out very soon. So I'll share my screen and just kind of go over an overview here. You know, explorer mindset is really about envisioning yourself as an explorer of your own learning. But I did take a crack at defining it. To my knowledge, it hasn't been defined yet by National Geographic. It's not my idea. I just kind of like create resources with the idea and enthusiastic, you know, talk excitedly about the explorer mindset, but I didn't come up with it. It's really their idea, but I have developed a lot with it. And I guess it originally was created as more of an outward looking perspective or mindset. And then my work has really centered on making that an inward looking experience too. So students are looking within and out as explorers of themselves as they learn, but also of the world as they're learning about it. So my definition, so this is just Kelly Koller's definition of an explorer mindset, is a perspective where students and teachers view themselves as explorers, catalyzing the learning process. Content isn't imposed, it's explored and discovered. And that part I really like, because even a simple wording change is something I like to do when using an explorer mindset in class. Instead of saying, using words like identify, describe, we can explore together. And that changes the excitement level of what we're learning, but it also changes the agency too, because then we're doing it together. It's not the teacher telling you that you're going to identify this or that or explain this or that. So it also focuses, so to me, it's founded on what's called the learning framework from National Geographic. And the learning framework is a collection of attitudes and skills that back when it was first developed in like 2016, 15, 16, they were attitudes and skills that the people on board this development process identified as being important to what explorers need in the field. So like it was already this like outward looking exploration. What do explorers need in the field? And they put a lot of work into developing that with not only teachers, but child development experts. And then of course, people from Nat Geo who work with explorers daily. So there are three attitudes that they put in the learning framework are curiosity, responsibility, and empowerment. And to me, how I talk about it with kids is describing those that collection of attitudes as kind of being that mindset. So a mindset is our thoughts and ideas on something. And certainly like how our collection of attitudes about something can be our mindset. So that's kind of how I describe it to students. And like I said before, I kind of developed a couple of projects about this, and one is exploremindset.org, which takes that mindset and puts students in the role of taking that learning framework. I'm just going to skip down to that slide here, so we can just look at the words together. Taking that learning framework and really emphasizing those three attitudes, curiosity, responsibility, and empowerment, and how I think of myself how I use those attitudes as a learner. But then also taking a nod and looking at and honoring those skills that are important to exploration: communication, observation, collaboration, and problem solving. The words in orange at the bottom are part of the learning framework too, but those are the content area focuses. And so me as a teacher, I don't have the flexibility to just focus on wildlife or the human journey or changing planet. Like I have to teach the standards that our district has approved. So for me, I would replace that content then with my English standards, my math standards, science and social studies, etc. So that's kind of how I look at and use the learning framework and the explorer mindset as a teacher. In online learning, I used it as well this year, and set up a remote class dojo, honoring the explorer mindset. So there's just so much that I feel you can do with it. So before I go into the courses though, I want to mention one more thing when talking about explorer mindset that I think is important too. And I'm working on resources that will help encourage these conversations. But because it's a problem, an issue that I ran into this year teaching fourth grade and talking about exploration and the history of exploration, is the word explorer is used to describe, colonists and, people who explored, but where their end goal was different than what an explorer mindset encourages, especially with the positive impact that an explorer mindset encourages on ourselves and the world around us. So I always think it's important too, because if I was coming from a First Nations perspective, I might really disconnect with the word explorer. And so what I'm working on now is developing, a discussion piece where we can encourage disconnections with the word explorer and talk about, well, how have we seen this word used? How have we used it in our own studies? And what does that mean? Do we connect with it or do we disconnect with it? Would we want to use a different word like pathfinder or seeker instead of explorer? And that's okay. So I just wanted to bring that up as part of the conversation and something that I'm trying to work on along with the other materials for this work. But on to the courses. So National Geographic has a set of courses and they're at this link, which I will put in the chat. So if anyone wanted to go exploring while I'm talking about it, I can do that. If I can figure out how to get to the chat, there it is. Okay, now how do I get off of the chat? There we go. I'm sorry, I'm not used to Zoom. I do WebEx and Google Meet. So, okay, self-paced courses. So I have taken a couple of these self-paced courses from Nat Geo. One of them is storytelling for impact. So self-paced meaning you can do it at your own pace. It takes about 7 hours for these. And I took the photography one, and it actually generated a project that I did right at the beginning of the school year with students doing a photo essay around their house. But they also have a video emphasis one, and then one on audio, which is about like using podcasts in class. So these are some great courses that you can do on your own time. And that's what I like about that, is it's not facilitated by a direct person. There you can access and ask questions like during the course, but you don't have to have things due at a certain time. So it's truly self-paced. But those are complete courses. Then there's these mini courses that are only 1 hour, and there's 2 of them right now. One of them is about an explorer mindset. And that one is literally just an hour. You see some examples. There's some great videos of Nat Geo explorers, and then you see some videos of how teachers use an explorer mindset in their class, like with their projects that they did through the certification process. Usually were the ones that I saw in there. And it's just a great introduction and it's short. And then another one is applying geographic thinking skills with your learners. And that mini course is about an hour to an hour and a half. So those are nice in like kind of developing that explorer mindset and just great self-paced courses. And then there's others that are cohort based. So they're facilitated by an instructor, and they have things due at a certain time, and you have to, there's a window to sign up. Like currently you can sign up for several courses that start June 23rd, and they all roughly end sometime in August. And then they have a fall session that goes from September 29th to November 17th. So one of the courses that's not up for enrollment right now is actually what I was originally here to talk to you about, the Educator certification process. Right now, it's currently being revisioned. So how it used to work is there used to be 3 phases. The first phase would be learning about the learning framework and the explorer mindset. But I think that other course is going to kind of take care of that now. So it might, that may or may not be in the new version. But the second phase was using, kind of combining your own curriculum with a couple Nat Geo resources, like could be anything, literally could be a photo, could be some of their tools from their resource library, like the Mapmaker Interactive, could be anything, could be Marine Debris Tracker app, and using those resources and then applying it to a lesson that you're reworking in your classroom. So kind of like revamping an existing lesson using what you've learned, using the learning framework, the explorer mindset, or using materials from Nat Geo. And then the third phase is applying that lesson and then doing a video of what you learned about it, the capstone. So like my project was, we created maps of a potential pollinator garden in our school, and we ended up actually planting that. But I turned in my project, so I was able to turn in my capstone project before we actually did that work, because it was like a year later, because the approval process took a while. So you don't have to actually do all of it, but you do like enough of it. And maybe Stacy, I know she's done the program, and anybody else could, maybe pop in the chat what their capstone project was. But I found this process really rewarding because it does push you, but it's also very manageable. The time it took was about 15 to 20 hours. That was the average for the amount of extra time. And you would do it. I actually did mine over the course of like 2 years, because I started it at Fox River Academy, and I started phase 1 there. And then I did phase 2 and 3 at O'Connell Falls after I switched school districts. So they're very flexible with how you can, they used to be have that flexibility where you could kind of put it on pause. I think anyone else could really speak to this too, that it's there. I have started and not finished probably 5 courses with this, and nobody is judging because they all know how busy teachers are. So you can now, currently you have to start the class over again with some of them. Like I was not able to finish geo inquiry, that course. So if I wanted to take it again, I would have to start from scratch. But nobody is judgy about that or anything, because everybody knows how busy we are. So There's a number of cohort-based classes that I'll just kind of briefly go over, and then we'll just talk about what one we might want to do if you want to explore one further, and go into some breakout rooms about explorer mindset and how we might use it. Another key part though, before I go into those, connected to the learning framework, part of that is looking at things in different scales and perspectives. So this is part of that explorer mindset as well, is taking yourself, but then, and if you're looking at an issue, looking at it locally, regionally, globally, so just working that into just how you look at the world, and then through different perspectives that you see listed on the screen: cultural, economic, ecological, historical. So scales and perspectives is just a practice as part of the mindset to always be thinking about, no matter what issue we're studying or looking at, what does this look like regionally then and globally, or back down the other way, if it's a global issue, what does that look like in my own neighborhood? So it's just a nice practice in geographic thinking, but just thinking, just good critical thinking in general. So I'm just going to blow through some of these courses here, but you can kind of look for in black an overview of like how long it takes. And some of these, I'm so excited, have grad credits, because I'm doing a graduate program right now, and I need some credits for the fall. So I was like, this was a great discovery. I'm like, cool, I could take some of these for grad credits. So Geo Inquiry, which Dave Landers is going to talk about next week. And then this one I'm super excited about. This one is taking just that asking a question part of the Geo Inquiry process and doing a whole class on that. It's 15 hours too. So it goes in depth. It uses the Right Question Institute resources for this class. But it gives better tools and resources for that whole project-based learning, developing my own question part of learning, which is super challenging to do with students. So I'm excited about that course. I haven't taken it yet myself. Collecting data to explore plastic pollution in our communities. Mapping as a visualization and communication tool. And integrating service with learning goals. So this is a service learning course. And then teaching global climate change. This one is 45 hours over 8 weeks. So a lot of these are hovering around 15 to 30 hours, and that one is a lot longer. And I will say, what they say when they say 45 hours, they do mean 45 hours, because I have taken a couple of these thinking like, they probably don't, it's probably not that long, but it really, they really are thorough, well done courses with really good videos and materials that you would expect from Nat Geo. Which courses appeal to you the most? And just to have a discussion, I'm certainly not a salesperson for Nat Geo or anything, and this is just free resources, so it's just a friendly discussion. What do you think is interesting? And then how might you apply and explore mindset in your classroom?
I have a question. Do you find that any of the courses in particular are geared more toward younger students, primary age?
I know that there was a kindergarten teacher heavily involved in the development of the service learning course. So I would say for sure that one.
Cool.
But they are pretty good in general about, Geo Inquiry would be definitely for primary grade levels, a whole class project where you're taking on one question for your whole class and modeling it that way. And so if you go into that class with that mindset, they do have, when I took that course, they had it actually divided up so that the elementary teachers would be all collaborating together, and then middle school. So because I've been so into this idea of the explorer mindset, and it's an expectation, which is a good expectation, that we use evidence-based practices in education. But then if you want to use something that hasn't been proven as an evidence-based practice yet, it gets kind of tricky. So that motivated me to apply. It actually is the whole reason I'm in grad school right now. Otherwise, I'd be just kicking back without taking 20 credits in a school year. But the whole reason I'm doing that is to find the answer to that question. Is there evidence that supports that this is a beneficial practice and one that increases students' feelings of engagement and empowerment? So to do that, I applied for a Nat Geo grant to support this work. And one of the products of that is an app. So it's a whole kind of convoluted picture, but the app is kind of the central resource that teachers can use to help teach about an explorer mindset and actually apply that. So this is coming out. And if you are at all interested in being either a part of the study or just wanting to try out the app, please let me know. I have, I can email it to you, and it can't be downloaded right now, but the goal is to have it available in August. Right now, it can be downloaded through this app called Test Flight, which is just for design and hashing out things. But this is basically what it looks like. One thing I'm really excited about is the explore part. So students will just be, it's gonna act kind of like Tour Builder, if you've ever used Google Tour Builder, where students tie a picture to a map. So that's where they're like logging their exploration. And then, it's got some different parts to it. But if that is something that interests you, I would love to have you try it out. So if you're interested in the fall of 2021, if you would like to try out Explorer Mindset on your students and contribute to this study to see if we have another evidence-based practice that we can use in education, then I would love to have you.
Every time I'm listening to Kelly, I learn something new and pick up some really great ideas. And it's always great to, absorb some of that passion that you give off for teaching and learning. So I want to thank Kelly for her time today. Check out explorermindset.org. There's a link there about outdoor cell and lots of fun things to play around there. Please, if you've not done so, I encourage you to visit our new website, and on the website you can find out some of the events and things that are going on, and some interesting articles if you need support for your principal on why take your learning outside and why now. So please do that. So on behalf of the entire FIELD Edventures team, I want to thank you for being here and stay connected with us.